Hello and welcome to the How to Hobby podcast. I'm your host, John Power, and this is episode 167 of our show here, the How to Hobby Boys, once again coming to you live on a Friday, best day of the week. And I am joined behind the rich mahogany desk by my fearless co host, the Japan jumping friend, Shawnee B.
Japan jumping is right. I leave tomorrow, dude. This is absolutely crazy to me that it's already here. I feel like it was just April when I was first invited to go on this trip out to Japan. And here it is. We're here. It's official. We're driving up to LA tomorrow to take our flight out to Osaka. It's here.
It's happening. I mean, I don't think anything truer has ever been said. Where did this year go?
I know it has been a really fast year. I was just talking with a coworker about that. It just has been cruising by. It's really trippy.
It's like what happened? I mean, the government shut down and we're just chilling, flowing right through the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you think they're actually going to open that back up here soon? How long
Yeah,
can they physically?
I don't know how long, what the longest is they've been closed down. I don't think they can be closed down that long. Eventually, someone will cave and some side will have to give up something.
Well, that is the way of the game, isn't it? Some side
It
always
is.
gives up something. Compromise. So, yeah, no, that's great. I'm happy you're jumping up to LA to jump in at Japan Air. Are you taking Japan Air?
We're taking Japan Airlines there and then taking Delta back.
Oh, wow.
Because
Man,
Delta goes from Tokyo to LA to San Diego so that I could take the kind of more direct flight coming home. Whereas going there, we wanted the direct flight, we wanted the nicer seats, the kind of upgraded plane. So in order to do that, we had to leave from LA.
so what you're not in coach?
No, we're in premium economy. We're actually kind of at the front of the plane. It's like in between coach and first class. Because the friends that I'm going with, their biggest lesson learned from their last couple of trips they've gone to Japan was you want to do your absolute best to be as comfortable as possible going there so that you can sleep. Because it's a 16-hour time difference. They're 16 hours ahead of us. So your
Wow.
sleep clock will be completely messed up when you get there. So they're like, sleep as much as you can on the plane right over. That way, when you get there, you still have some energy. You can go do things, but then you can go to bed as well,
with
from,
with the city, like
with the
with the
city.
specific time.
Yep, and my parents did the same thing when they used to go back and forth between San Diego and Japan. My dad would do the same thing. He goes, I would stay up till 2 a.m. I would sleep for 4 hours until 6 a.m. I would get up, I'd hop on the flight. I'd sleep. By the time I got there, I was kind of wide awake, and then I could start my day and more quickly transition into the Japanese time zone. But that's why I'm going to stay up as late as I can today and hopefully get some good sleep on the plane. Coming home, though, I'm just flying regular coach because it doesn't really matter coming home. You gain time and your sleep cycle is going to be messed up anyway. So I was like, I'd rather spend more money on the front end of the trip so that I get to Japan and I'm ready to go. And then when I come home, I could just deal with it when I get back.
Man, that is crazy. I didn't realize it was 9 hours. It's already 12:35 tomorrow there.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're 16 hours ahead from where we're at. So it's going to be challenging to try and talk with friends and family and stuff too because of the time difference. So like for me, 6 a.m. there will be 2 p.m. here in San Diego. So the 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. time zone is kind of when I'll have some overlap with people. But the rest of the time, I'm going to be so far ahead that everyone's going to be asleep.
I see. Well, good luck. Do you feel ready?
I do. I actually, my goal was to be completely packed by this early this weekend because I wanted to be able to enjoy the last few days and not feel like I was stressed and panicking at the very end. So I've actually been fully packed, other than like phone charger and some little small stuff. I've pretty much been fully packed for almost 4 days now. It's the bag is just sitting there, and I'm actually taking my backpacking backpack
Oh,
instead of a
nice.
suitcase. So I loaded my Osprey. It's a 75 liter. I loaded it because I'm going to be there for 3 weeks. I loaded it with as many clothes as I could, but still balance out to be carryable because I didn't want to have it be too heavy. But the big thing for me is I really didn't want a rolly bag. I hated it when I was in Europe. I hated having to lug that thing around, and I now could just throw this thing on my back and walk anywhere. And then I can also check it so that I can basically the Japan does luggage forwarding where you can go to your hotel and you can say, "Hey, I'm going to be at this hotel in 2 days. I want this bag sent to that hotel." And they will forward it to you. There's a whole mail and forwarding service. And then when
What?
you get to the hotel, your bag will be there waiting for you. So I'm going to be doing that a lot. And then I have a little small day pack that I got that's just going to be my around town, get some souvenirs and stuff.
Wow. Neat. Well, that sounds like a good plan. I didn't know that. I can't wait to debrief with you in 3 weeks and we can get all the Japan insights
Yes.
for future trips, hopefully. But yeah, this has been a fun time. I actually just got back from the wilderness this last weekend. We went up
Hmm.
to Show, which is northern Arizona, and it was great. The compound that we were at for the men's retreat was awesome. There was a gym with pickleball. I got to officially start my journey with pickleball. Have you ever played?
No, no, I haven't. I've seen it
Oh,
everywhere though.
it's so much fun, man. Great time. And then yeah, they just had a ton of stuff. It was very cool. Axe throwing in the backyard as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, you just got into it. And then I always make sure to bring the bike. And so I got some much needed mountain biking time. And I'm just telling you, there's something so special about riding around with just trees and small towns and you're just rolling in and out. Man, it just changes the whole game.
Mm.
So that was really cool. And yeah, I mean, back to it. It went well. I was telling you before we started recording because last week we covered kind of the overall how our AI use has been, and I used the AI to generate my list for the food and
Hmm.
help me portion out everything. And really, it was spot on.
Hmm.
Could have used a little bit more. Trying to think what if there was anything that really seemed like it needed. But no, I think more or less everything really hit. Um, and so I was just happy because pretty much every meal, nothing was left, which is a sign that, you hit it right on the button, right?
The perfect amount.
Yeah, there's no leftovers and people are still coming back and getting extras, but it just worked out. And again, when you cook more often like we do, you kind of start to get a feel for portion control.
Yeah.
And so it definitely, yeah, it's helpful. But yeah, and then I had a group of guys that two of my friends were able to help me as my sous chefs throughout the weekend. So that was a fun experience too, just working in the kitchen with each other, having that support. It definitely helps a lot when you're not just Lone Ranger, right? And you have people that are actually capable. I think that was the thing. They had both expressed, "Oh yeah, I like to cook," so
Yeah.
that helped. Sometimes I don't know if you ever had an experience where people, there's always those people when you go to things like this that are like, "Just tell me what to do," and you're like,
Yep.
"Well, I don't really know what you are capable of doing, right? It's very hard to just be like, oh, well, go chop onions or whatever the case. There was one funny moment where one of my sous chefs chopped onions for the grill, and they were literally like half-inch thick, and I just went, no, no, that's not for burgers. Like that
Uh,
is not the correct ratio of patty to
Burger
onion
King.
to dude. It was like legit, and so anyway. But other than that, that was the only gripe I had with them. They had others with me too. So
Hmm.
that's the way it all works when you're a bunch of boys just hanging out. But really nice house too. There was like a humidor inside. So
How did
I,
you find this place?
it was through our church. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
yeah, it was a contact through church, and they allow churches to come through, and they're very generous with being able to share this place. But I mean, it was unbelievable. I should have taken some photos so I could show you, but I didn't. Actually, I did with my real camera,
Yeah.
but I didn't
Yeah.
with my phone. So anyway, with this, let's kind of move into our show for this episode after we welcome everybody in. Listeners, hey, welcome to the How to Hobby Podcast. We have a lounge here as you're streaming in from all over the world. We welcome you. We got the plushest seats in town here. Sit yourself down, grab yourself a choice beverage at the How to Hobby Bar. Brandon behind the bar, always hitting it with the drinks, perfectly crafted. And I'm drinking tea, my classic tea on a Friday, best drink of the week. And if you really are interested in supporting the show more, please leave us a 5-star review and or follow us wherever you're listening to this show. That's appreciated. And we do have an email and social media. If you want to follow our Instagram, that's at How to Hobby Podcast. We do have a YouTube where we've been putting everything up, How to Hobby Podcast. That's where you can see our show and see our faces live every week. And then we do have a Gmail account for all those business inquiries. And that's howtohobbypodcast at gmail.com. We appreciate all comments throughout the show. If you have them, drop them anywhere in the Spotify app if you have the app in the comment feature or on our YouTube or Gmail directly. It goes right to Sean's Neuralink.
Sure does.
So with that, we thought this would be fun. This is actually the end of Q3, listeners. We're actually technically already into Q4, but because Sean is taking off here, going to Japan for the next 2 weeks, we will be not having a show for the next 2 weeks. And with that, we're going to wrap up Q3 and then launch Q4 as Sean returns. So don't be looking for shows over the next 2 weeks because Sean will be out. If anything, it may be me talking by myself for 15 minutes because sometimes I just have to turn on the mic. So we'll see what happens to keep the lights on in the lounge, but I wouldn't hold us to anything crazy because Sean won't be here, and that's half the fun. So with that, we wish you the best, Sean, but we're going to wrap up Q3 with some of our favorite things we did this quarter. We always like to do this for ourselves because it's like a time capsule. And we're going to start with how our hobbies went over the summer going into fall. We'll go through our notable executables because this quarter was all about execution. And then we're going to talk through things coming up in Q4 that we're looking forward to. And yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it for you to jump on your plane. So
Yeah.
with that, let's dive into our first topic, how our hobbies went.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with professional, professionally at work. I think that we're going to go professional, hobby, and then development. I think that the when I look back on the last few months professionally, I feel like the biggest thing that called to me is really took ownership of the new role that I'm stepping into and used that new role to close arguably our largest project we've had in probably 2 years. So the role that I'm stepping into is moving away from a design engineering role where I'm actually doing the artistic side of designing things, and I'm moving more into the business side and documentation of getting quotes and getting all of the drawings and the design memos and everything done on that side because the thing that a lot of engineers forget is you can come up with the most brilliant design, but if you can't put that into paper and hand to somebody else to actually make it for you, the design doesn't mean anything. It's never going to be real. So that's the kind of new role I'm stepping into. And then I used it to close a huge project for us that was a big 2 year development of designing a new technology, a new material, a new way of fusing materials. Took so many of prototypes that we made and finally releasing into our production line and closing everything out and getting all that TBD. It was hundreds of parts trying to do new designs and documentation. It was a big project. And so I stepped into that role, I think, really well. And everybody that I talked to said there were definitely some bumps along the way. I wasn't perfect since it was the first time kind of trying to do this, but I think that everyone pointed out that it did really help and that they were really glad to have me there because most people aren't interested in the documentation side of things. Most engineers just want to do the fun, creative stuff, not the documentation. And so I think
Yep.
that the lesson that I took from this over the summer is you don't always have to like the same things that everybody else does, and that's okay. And to find that, make it into a strength because I don't like doing the design. I like doing the paperwork. Other people hate doing the paperwork. They want to do the design. And I went to my boss and said, hey, we're kind of not doing so great at our paperwork the last couple of years. We're getting a lot of things wrong that people keep saying we're making mistakes. So, what if I took on the ownership of stepping away from design and taking over the paperwork and making sure it's done to the highest quality and consistent, and we're all doing the exact same across every program? And he said, take it. It's yours. We've been wanting something like this. It's just nobody's wanted to do it. So yeah, take advantage of the things that you may want to do that others may not. And it could be a good way to bring into your professional life some of the skills you've learned outside in your hobbies.
Yep. That's a great one, Sean. Thanks for sharing your kind of overall experience with new challenges. And I'm happy that you receive feedback. On a similar note, I actually have been receiving feedback professionally on throughout this quarter on my slide development.
Hmm.
And, it's kind of been a mixed bag, like realizing how much goes into creating a high quality engineering slide.
Yep.
And my current manager has pretty high standards for what a slide should be. And he usually tells me if mine is good or kind of in the middle, or I don't think I've ever been told it's not a great slide, but I don't think I've ever been like, oh yeah, that's a perfect slide yet. And so part of my experience, and when I talk about slide, I'm talking PowerPoint slide listeners. So the idea behind a good engineering slide is it conveys the thought with just enough technical and writing to convey everything that you're trying to say about the design and or whatever topic you're trying to cover with that slide.
Mhm.
The perfect slide is one that should, and I think this is actually where I've struggled with it. Even if you're not there, somebody could pick it up and talk to the slide and get
Yeah.
the intent across. And I think that's kind of where I need to continue to grow. Have grown a lot, I feel like, in this. Just, the technique, what it looks like. But I think sometimes I strip out a lot, or more than I should. So I just need to kind of, again, it's just finalizing this balance between what is too much, what is too little, and what is a concise slide. Because I'm all about being concise and I like brevity, but you can be too brief.
Yep.
And so I'm continuing to try and do this. It's not necessarily it's an in progress still. I'm still really trying to grow in this. But one thing that I did take as a major W this year, and especially in Q3, because that was when I was executing a lot of this, was I'm a part of uh, I'm actually president of our employee resource group at Northrop Grumman. And I had two very high profile events that took place in July of this year. And I'll talk more about those later on here in the show. But my goal originally at the start of this year was to really do some of these higher tier premier, what I call a premier event, where people they just show up and they get everything. They get food, they get high quality, conversation, networking, and it goes very well. And you don't have to really feel like, oh, I didn't like that very much, or oh, this could have been better. And so, these events take a lot more time, as you know, coming from event planning, Sean. It's not as simple as just saying, hey, we're going to this bar, show up. So you have to do a lot more thought, budget wise analysis, and really thinking about the little details to make it go well. So I'll talk more about these as we go through the show. But yeah, this has been a moment to do that, and I was able to execute on those higher tier events, which was a goal starting out this year. So kind of coming through and actually seeing them done. It's one thing to plan, and that's why I wanted to talk through this, but it's one thing to plan. It's a totally other thing to execute when everything is going on
Yep.
in your life. So I was starkly reminded that throughout the process of planning those events. So yeah, that was kind of my professional overall experience in Q3. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Cool. And then I'm going to jump into hobby wise of some things that I did. I think the big thing for me was I spent as much time working on and riding my motorcycle as I possibly could this summer. That was something that was really important to me. I was getting more confident, and I will talk about it a little bit later, but I did take a new class here and really push my skills to the extreme, to the brink of falling off the bike several times and needing help and really pushing myself to almost the point of exhaustion in that class. But I really enjoyed that this quarter was a lot of time was spent on the bike. I rode to work a lot. I rode on the weekends. Like I really enjoyed getting out there and just doing it, doing the thing that I love. So yeah, that was a big thing kind of hobby wise. And there's a chance here in a month or two that I may be actually moving into a new apartment with a garage. And
What?
I'm very excited to potentially have some closed coverage that I can cover motorcycles so that, and I say motorcycles with an S because I really want to get better at working on bikes and stuff in the shade, but in the sun, it just sucks sometimes. So, but yeah, hobby wise, I think this quarter was a lot of motorcycle time for me. And the listeners are probably like, oh my God, he's talking about motorcycles again. But they're my passion. They're my hobby. I really enjoy it.
It's any other hobbies that you were kind of digging into throughout the year or sorry, the Q3?
I think one that I actually was digging into as well as a lot of reading. Like this quarter, I'm a reader. I've been reading a lot for most of my life, but this quarter, getting together with starting a book club with a couple of my friends and then regularly meeting and having books and just getting back into the swing of always reading. That's another big hobby that I've really gotten into. Reading a lot of the fantasy books and the sci-fi books. A lot of really fun with a lot of magic and fairies and dragons and stuff has been very good for the imagination to work through that. And then I think really hobby wise, it really hasn't been a whole lot else. I mean, it's really been a lot of motorcycle and reading and sometimes combining the two. Some of my
Yeah,
favorite hobby days or weekends for me was just riding up the coast, bringing a book, and I would stop and get coffee or I'd stop and get lunch and I would just sit there and read and do kind of like my own solo days, just going up and down the coast, kind of combining two of my favorite passions.
very nice. And give me, I got a one off here for you, Sean. I really want to know what was one of your favorite food moments of the quarter. What was something that
Ooh.
you just kept going back to? Not just, I guess I'll put it into two. The thing that really stood out to you that you just kept coming back to, and then your standalone, just all out moment.
Okay, so the thing that I kept coming back to a lot was it's kind of a classic for me. It's been a big one. There's a particular salsa from Vaughn's that I really,
Oh,
really like. I actually had it today.
oh, perfect.
But there's something that I kind of regularly came back to this quarter of getting this Vaughn's salsa and then doing chips and salsa. It's one of my favorite little
Oh,
things to do. I love doing the chips and salsa and drinking the michelada and just kind of doing the Mexican night at home. It's also my favorite restaurant. It's kind of doing the same thing. It's going and getting chips and salsa, drinking a beer, maybe getting some tacos. Like that's one of my favorite things. I sit at the bar a lot and read a book and just eat a bunch of chips and salsa. So I think that like salsa as a whole has been a pretty big one for me. And in terms of an actual item, I honestly don't really know if there's been a single one that's like really stood out this quarter. I think it's just kind of been like I don't remember any bad food this quarter at all. I think everything has just been hitting really hard, really good
nice.
stuff, really good coffees, really good foods. Like it's been a pretty good quarter food wise.
That's great. I gotta share mine because I was excited to kind of talk through this at some point. I actually had a really great food moment just recently up in Sedona, and I was it unsurprisingly it was actually Mexican food, and it was a mole dish.
Ooh.
What is it when is it the enchilada where they it's kind of like tacos rolled and put
Yeah, yeah, and then with usually a wet sauce on top.
yeah, so that was it. It was like an enchilada, like a mole enchilada, but they were fresh cooked tortillas
Hmm.
and the chicken was so tender and it was like this sweetness, you know, cinnamon and herbaceous. So kind of like that sweet and savory. Oh man, it was good. And this was after mountain biking on my Sedona weekend. So highly recommend. And uh I was starkly reminded because I from that I actually went on my last little trip I did up to Clearfield, Utah. I had some food with some friends that we had a restaurant. It was kind of like an Asian fusion restaurant. I'm not going to name the name because it was probably my least notable food
Oh,
experience of the
okay.
quarter.
Okay.
And coming off of it was just such a stark reminder because I had the Friday prior, the Friday night prior, I had had this mole, and then the that Monday night,
Mm.
I had this Asian fusion, and it was like kind of a poke bowl thing. So obviously, the chances of it going awry are higher when you're talking about like a raw fish,
Yep,
but by
definitely.
far like the lowest quality I've ever had to date, which is saying something because I'm not squeamish. Like even that night at the mole place, we got ceviche, me and my buddy, we were
Hmm.
expressing our love for trying raw fish and, you know, taking a chance. Obviously, you're always taking a chance whenever you have raw anything,
Yeah.
but it was just weird, right? You have this like high moment and then low and the price was it wasn't priced high or anything. It wasn't it, but it showed me so much about just why sometimes you pay a little bit more when you go out
Hmm.
to have a better overall experience. If the food was better and the price was lower, I would have been like, this is amazing. But because the price was lower and the food was so low, I was just like, I would have paid more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a weird one for me.
What, and that was that in Sedona, is what you said?
The mole was in Sedona.
Okay.
The Asian fusion was up in Utah,
Okay. Got it.
outside of Salt Lake City. Smaller town.
Got it.
Again, could probably just pick the wrong thing. But
Yeah. But
it,
also, I've been to some restaurants that get really bad reviews, but then the food is amazing, or vice versa.
yeah,
Restaurant has really good reviews, and then sometimes the food is lackluster. But I've even noticed sometimes, like my favorite restaurant, the Mexican restaurant I was talking about, chips and salsa, my favorite restaurant ever, sometimes just doesn't hit. Like it's just not as good. The salsa isn't as good. They maybe change the ingredients or something, and it's just not as flavorful as usual. But that sucks that you had a bad experience.
it's okay, Sean.
At least you
Oh,
didn't get sick from it.
yes. Well, I did feel funny, but it wasn't. Yeah, I have to tell you more later, but it
Okay.
wasn't like a food all out food poisoning or anything. So that's
Hmm.
really good. And that is a plus. I want to share my most notable because it's one I actually have not mentioned, but it's new. It's by Lenny and Larry. It's a protein bar.
Hmm.
And there's been this new push with these protein bars to be like less calories but more protein. So it's got 12 grams of calories, or oh my gosh, 12 grams of protein, but it only has 160 calories overall.
Okay.
So instead of like a Cliff Bar, which typically is like you can get 20 grams of protein, but it's got 230 or 280 calories in it. This is like less, but still has a decent amount of protein. And sometimes, protein bars can be, they just have that taste, that
Hmm.
protein taste that you're
Yep.
like, ugh. And this one just doesn't have it. It tastes very good. So I'll have to put that in the show notes. It's the Cookified Protein Bar by Lenny and Larry's. So
Cookified protein bar. Okay.
yeah.
I'll have to add it to the list of things to try.
Yep. I'll have to bring one for you when we meet again, Sean. To close out this year. Oops, my mic is falling down. All right, with that, let's move into my hobbies that I really dug into this quarter, and it was mainly all about hiking, biking, and backpacking, which nobody probably it's the same thing. They're probably like, this guy's going to talk about this again. Yes, I am. But yeah, I think it was the trifecta that I've talked about throughout the a few different episodes here where I did back to back to back big hiking trip, 25 miles, or sorry, 20, I think it was 23 miles from rim to rim in the heat, 113. Made that happen. And then my biking trip where I did my annual century. And that was really, really fun to do. And then the third weekend, I did my big backpacking trip for my 34th birthday. And that for me was a big moment. It sounds really dumb. It's not so much about the hobby, Sean. I think it was more about the resiliency
Hmm.
and the well-roundedness. And I think what I'm starting to realize in my life is I am a pretty well-rounded person. I just got some feedback at work that I'm just a very well-rounded engineer. And, it made me stop and pause and think, oh, wow, that's kind of, interesting. Because I feel like in general, I'm always trying to be well-rounded, like not just commit to one thing, not make that be the only thing. I
Yep.
mean, I still outside of even hiking, biking, and backpacking, I love running. I still run. I still skateboard. I've been skateboarding with my son. He's been on the
Hmm.
bike. I've been skateboarding. And so I just think it's one of those things where you can't ever just, and I encourage you listeners to, if you're out there thinking, oh man, I've just got to commit to a hobby and that be the only one, I think that's poo poo. I think you can have as much fun as you want to. And if something is getting boring for whatever reason, hey, switch it up. I mean, even gaming. Gaming for me is just one of those things that really cleanses. It's a palate cleanser
Hmm.
and it's a needed thing for me. And it's been a fun hobby to continue to do and try and do well. And I think, as engineers, we've expressed this, Sean. we like to do well at the things we're doing. So yeah, that was
We
my
do.
hobby. Oh,
I was gonna say we do like to do well the things we're doing, but I think there's a power in trying new things and being okay with not being the best at something, or even sometimes sucking and failing a lot. I think that's a big thing that a big lesson that we try and pass on here is there's nothing wrong with not being the best at something and trying and failing and then trying something else and failing at that. And it's just part of life. You're learning and you're gonna always take away something from everything that you attempt to do. So I think that I've spent this last quarter really honing in on one or two hobbies, but probably going into Q4, it's going to be a bunch. I've got travel, I've got a lot of other things that I'm going to be doing. So I think that it ebbs and flows with the different cycles of life.
yeah. Thanks for reminding the listeners that, Sean. That's such an important part of what we do here. And we don't want you to be discouraged about anything you're doing. Uh, Keep it up and just remind yourself that it's a joy and a blessing to be up and trying any one thing. You could you could be unable to do any of these hobbies, and sometimes just being able to walk around is enough. I mean, that's literally what hiking is. Putting on tennis shoes and just walking around in
Yep.
some natural environment, but even the beauty of city walking. There is this sort of nice joy to even city walking at times. So yeah, a lot to unpack there, Sean. But let's move into development wise, what we kind of understood and did this summer, moving into the fall. Where did you see some of this development?
Yeah, so in at work, I've been getting a lot of that leadership training and leadership development, but I think outside of work, this has felt like a quarter of gaining confidence in myself, of being okay with who I am and what I do, really pushing myself to do things that do kind of scare me a little bit, taking a class, doing this, doing that. And then another big thing that I've kind of struggled with for years is my hair. I know that I've got a receding hairline. I know that it's thinning and starting to bald on the back. And it's something that I've been kind of ignoring for years. And I finally committed to, you know what? I'm just doing the buzz. I'm doing a short buzz and I'm just going to rock what hair I have until it's gone. And I'm just going to focus on the beard, keep that going. And so this quarter, I really focused on just committing to the buzz cut and really embracing it. And the funniest part is I don't really get many comments on my hair normally. Then I committed to the buzz cut, and then I feel like at least once a week somebody says something about my hair, like, "Oh, it looks really good," or "Oh, it looks like you have a good hairline." Things like that. The
Oh,
little
nice.
stuff that people are noticing. So yeah, this quarter has been kind of a big one and growing in my confidence in myself.
Ah, that's awesome, Sean. What a good one. Yeah, these are important lessons to continue to field, and I'm glad you're growing in your confidence because you look great and yeah, you're doing a great job in life. So let's keep that going. Yeah, my Q3 has been, I don't think anything super amazing in development. I think sometimes you just kind of are going through. I don't really see a ton of overall growth compared to maybe Q2 or Q1, but the important thing is I've kept certain things going for me.
Hmm.
And I've been able to continue to pursue the gym. And with the gym, I think, you start to hit this peak where they call it the newbie gains. The newbie gains are done. And then you're really just, it's like, oh man, you really have to put a lot more effort and time into getting any further gains. And for me, it's always been about just minimal updates to anything. And I like that. I call them dad gains because it's just I'm going to go and we'll see what happens over a year, not the course of a month. And it has been really nice just to keep that going and see, just some standard results. I actually I went skydiving and I just uploaded the photos from my camera. My buddy had my camera. And it was one of those, I don't know if you ever had one of those moments where you're reviewing pictures, and I was reviewing the pictures from me running up after I was skydiving. And it was like, is that what I look like? It's kind of just, I don't know what it is about us. You're so used to seeing yourself in the mirror, but
Yep.
you're not used to seeing yourself from like a perspective away, or
Hmm.
what do I look like from afar? And every once in a while I'll have that moment where it's like, oh wow, I look like I'm developing some muscle mass, and that's good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, in line with what you were saying. I don't really see it or I don't really acknowledge it. And then every once in a while it's like, oh, okay, I think I'm seeing some development there, and that's good. So I want to keep pushing in the gym, keep up that routine. It's I think finding the balance between riding super hard and then working out. I do find that now that I'm in the gym and pushing more weight, I sometimes am exhausted by the time I get on the bike, even on like
Hmm.
on my way home. And I feel that. I feel like that load. So I think I'm still trying to balance that all out. And with this race coming up, I have been thinking about that. Like I don't want to feel exhausted all the time when I get on the
Yeah.
bike. But last night I was able to do my annual, or not annual. As soon as I can, or as often as I can, I try and do a full moon bike ride. Did you see the
Hmm.
moon this
I
week?
did. It was gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, it was great, man. And so the family is out of town right now. And so I pushed myself. I made dinner. And this is a big thing for me if I ever have time alone. I want to do something I don't normally do.
Hmm.
And so family's out. Made dinner, and then I was watching the football game and I could have just sat on the couch and I was like, no, I'm going to run to the store and make a little errand out of it because that gets you out of the house.
Hmm.
And then I'm just gonna roll and take in the put the lights on the bike, take in the beautiful moon, and then I went and sat on a back. There's this backyard area at one of our local restaurants, and I watched the rest of the football game on the big screen with everybody. And so it was kind of this fun, just man, I was hitting it so hard last night. It was great, and it felt amazing. Probably similar to if you've ever ridden your motorcycle at night and you just have the
Yes.
headlight. There's something about that, like you just get locked in and you're
Especially because
just,
it's cooler and you got the breeze, and usually there's less people out, so it's quieter. I love doing that where I'm not in the city. I don't like riding at night in the city because I feel like it's kind of sketchy and scary with who knows who's out there. But when Tyler and I went out and we were riding out near Julian, and unfortunately the motorcycle had a hard time getting started and took us 2 hours to get going. But by the time we started going, the sun had already set. So it was pitch black, and now we're carving through the roads in the backwoods of Julian trying to get to the freeway. And while in the very first maybe 5 minutes, it was kind of terrifying of, oh my God, it's dark and trying to do this. And then it just became freeing and just relaxed into it and just cruised and took our time. It didn't go too fast. And it was such a cool experience.
oh, so good, man. And I did some off-roading too on the gravel. So there's something about that when you're ripping really fast over gravel. Oh, it just feels great. It was a great night. So anyway, I'm glad you had some fun with that experience as well. There's something to it, and it's always fun to just do things at night. We didn't plan to that for that to be one of our fun moments of notable things to talk about this evening. But hey, you know what? Night rides or night activities are great. Don't forget that. Okay, Sean. So let's move into our notable executables. Uh, I think we're going to go through each month. So we have July, August, and September. That makes up the quarter. And so what was something notable that you executed on in July?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that I want to note, I don't remember the exact days, but I know it was around the July, August time, was the fact that this quarter we got 2 couch sessions in of you and I just chilling in my apartment and recording and just hanging out. And I think that it's always really fun and really important to see your friends and hang out with them. And so I just wanted to throw that out that just popped into my head that we
Yeah,
got 2 couch sessions in this quarter.
that was
But
July.
that was
July was the
July.
month. Yep.
Yep, it was July. The other big things that I did in July, so I had a new friend's birthday party. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is that I didn't really want to go, to be honest. I really wanted to go for Phil. I really wanted to go see Phil, but I didn't know any of who was going to be there. And I was kind of nervous about having to be social because I'm social in a professional setting, but I'm not super social in just kind of a hanging out at a friend's house drinking beer kind of thing. I like small groups, maybe 5 or 6 people. They were going to be 40 plus at this party. So I went in kind of nervous, didn't really want to go. Ended up having an absolute blast. Played three straight games or won three straight games of beer pong, the best I've ever done. Talked with some new friends, made some new friends. It was a really, really fun time, and I was very glad that I went. And it was something that I I was very nervous and didn't really want to do. So that felt good. And then the other big notable thing I think in July was the Whiskey and Fire event that I did with my dad. Here in San Diego, they hosted this event where it was, I think, close to 60 different tents, and they had a bunch of different brewery or whiskey houses and brandy houses and vodka
Whiskey
houses,
and
whiskey. And
fire.
they all came out and did this whiskey event where they had whiskey tastings, but then had fire cooked meals. So it was a lot of local restaurants, but then some, kind of countrywide restaurants that came and made their super fancy meals cooking over a wood fire and then just trying a bunch of whiskeys and stuff. And it was really fun. It was very crowded. I ended up running into Vicente there, actually. Just
Of
didn't know we were
course.
each going. But it was really crowded and the lines were long, but it was fun just to sit there, hang with my dad and just go to that event. It was kind of a surprise thing for him. I just basically sent him a text 2 weeks before and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I think it was a Saturday. "What are you doing Saturday?" He goes, "Well, I don't really have anything planned." I went, "Okay, consider it booked. I'm booking that day for us. We are going to be hanging out." And he goes, "Okay." And then when he found out that we were going to the Whiskey and Fire event, he was like a little kid in Candyland. He was so excited. And we Ubered there because we knew we were probably going to be pretty toasted by the time we were done, which
I
we
would say
were.
so. Yeah,
And
whiskey is not one where you mess around. It's like
no,
you can't
and
just have a few, even just a few, like what are they, like fingers of whiskey and
yeah.
then be able to drive. It's
No,
like
you can't.
it
It's very
just
strong
hits you.
and yes, they're little cups. They were giving you to taste them, but they were pouring them heavy and they were just free flowing them. It's like, okay, we're going to this one booth. There's 15 whiskeys we're going to try. So it's like 15 of those little cups and you're just back, 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 back. And by the time we were done, even with eating food, I look at him and I'm like, I'm so glad we're Ubering home because there is no way that we should be driving right now. And he joked and said the same thing. So that was a really fun way to kind of round out July for me. Hanging with my dad, hanging with some friends. It was a really big, July. We had 4th of July, your birthday. Like it was a big, big month.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm glad you shared. It's definitely a fun experience to have some of these opportunities to one be with in community for sure. I mean, I just had one of those with the men's retreat. Uh, those special moments, right, are just so great, and so it's good. Yeah, my July executable was the enterprise leadership panel that I had planned with some VPs in my company, and to date, I think professionally, that was one of the things I think most proud of from just like a non-technical standpoint, right? There's some things you do technically that you're very proud of,
Yep.
but this was the first time I did something where I just thought, wow, that was really big. And I think I knew it was when it was pretty cool. I think I shared this, Sean, but I went back. There was a control room where they were running the Zoom.
Hmm.
And then that was behind where I was going to be speaking and we were going to have the panelists sitting. So I went back there and I told him, okay, it's top of the hour. We gotta start it up, open the lobby. And he opens it up and like immediately there was like 300 people queuing. And he was like, whoa, like, yeah, there's 300 people in here. And I was like, let's go. And so I ran out and then we started. But I looked back at the stats and yeah, there was like 400 plus unique
That's wild.
viewers from the company for that panel. And I mean, that's pretty big numbers for like just a general, hey, you got to commit your time to this. This is not
Yeah.
mandatory based event. I mean, really, I don't know if I know of anybody who's had a similar amount of impact. So
Hmm.
that I think for me was a big moment. Very cool. I just received the pictures from it, and we had a photographer there. We had the Zoom going. We got the recording. So I think it'll be something where I look back on and say, yeah, that was really cool. This is not something you do every single day. It takes a lot of work, but a lot of great times. And then one of the VPs is actually stepping down. So it was like one of his last moments before retirement.
Mm.
And I got to sit and talk with him. So that was really cool. So yeah, with that, I think I'll actually talk through my August one because it's a similar vein, actually,
Hmm.
Sean, if you'll allow me.
Go for
Um,
it.
so in August, I had this was it was like back to back, and that's what really set this. And when I say executing, this is what I meant earlier when I said putting things down on paper is one thing, executing is a completely other thing. So on top of having this enterprise leadership panel, which was July 31st, the next week, or I think it was 2 weeks from then, the second week in August, was my form event. 5 operationally relevant, unstoppable minutes. And the idea behind the event is it's 5 minutes and it's 5 slides. So the presenter has 5 minutes and they have 60 seconds per slide and that's it. And it keeps the idea is it keeps it moving and it's pretty fast paced and it's supposed to be fun. For engineers, I found that it wasn't always the most fun, I think, for them because they like to add a little bit more meat. And
Yep.
so, maybe for engineers, it'd be better if it was 10 minutes per. So, maybe what to do 5 slides, but have 2 minutes per slide. And maybe that would flow better for them. But anyway, at the end of the day, it was more about all the details that went into both of these back to back. And there's a
Yeah.
ton, right? The network, the marketing side of it, the getting people of high quality to come and commit to be one on the board and then two
Hmm.
present, getting people to come out to the event, uh, and then the food. Like I had it catered by our on-site catering. So just working, through that process. And these are things that are just on top of your regular old engineering tasks. Now, again, I think this has been helping me to be more well-rounded as an employee versus just all in on one thing. It forces you to understand every process of where we work.
Yep.
And I like that. So that was my two back to back. And man, they came together, Sean, but it was hard. And I had moments, even leading up to the forum, after I had done the enterprise leadership panel, I was like, there is no way I looked at the calendar and went, how am I going to do this?
You were ambitious. You were definitely ambitious, but it sounds like they all went pretty well. Do you know if there are any pictures from that that you could post, or are they all kind of considered like company pictures?
I'll have to find out. Actually, I don't think so. I
Okay.
think I could. I'm gonna have to ask. I think I could share them on LinkedIn for sure,
Okay.
which means I could probably share them on social media.
Yeah, if
Um,
possible, I'd see if you can, because I think it'd be cool to show the listeners some of the things that you did and how they looked and the professionalism of it. I think it'd be really cool to see that. I know I'd be super interested in seeing some of the pictures from it because I'm hosting some of my own events. So I hosted a GL panel where group leads, basically our managers. I hosted a leadership and career development panel back in August. So I helped lead that with one of my coworkers, Tyler, and we brought up the questions, interviewed everybody, and presented to about 80-ish people in our department for that small event. And then right now we're actually planning a career development day in January where we are going to have speakers and booths and food, catering, and everything for this event, trying to show people in our department that you don't need to leave our department in order to grow in your career. We have opportunities here. It's just people don't talk to each other a lot. And I may not know, if I'm talking to a guy from optics and I'm not in optics, if I don't understand what he's doing, it's hard to feel like I could ever move my career into that direction. So we're currently putting together a small committee of us is working on putting together a career day event. So I may have to pick your brain a little bit on that
nice.
going into the new year. Moving into August for me, I've hinted at it, but my motorcycle off-roading class was a really big one for me. It was out in Campo-ish area in San Diego, and it was a hot day. I mean, it was over 100. I think it was like 105 or 106 but at the peak heat of the day. But
Wow.
it was a full, just really fun class out in kind of off-roading in the desert. So I have a semi off-road bike,
Kinda.
kind of.
Just kinda.
Just kind of. So we were off-roading and it was a full class. So the funny part is it was 2 miles of dirt road in order to get to where the class is hosted. And we were joking that that's like the gauntlet. If you can't even make it to the class, you shouldn't be here kind of thing. But I remember going into the class and I was so terrified of being on that dirt. It was like my body was locked up. I was all over the place, just no confidence whatsoever. And then I think it was like 5 or 6 hours later, riding that same dirt road coming back out, I'm moving way faster, way more confident, just feeling safer on the bike, knowing that I could go do this again on my own if I go camping. It was a really big deal for me to see that quick results, going from how terrified I was to now a lot of confidence and feeling so much better about it. That was really cool and really shows how important it is to take classes. Find those things that you're doing in your hobbies and look for them. I mean, I this just popped up on Instagram. I think is how I first found the school. And then I was talking with a friend of mine about how he wanted to take a class. And I said, oh, well, let me go see what's out there. And I found this school called SoCal Off-Road School. And I'm going to take more classes with them, ideally when it cools off a little bit. So it's not quite as hot because I went through an entire full camelback and drank almost a full like 60 ounces of water when I got home. Like I drank almost
Oh,
a gallon
wow.
and a half of water that day because I was sweating so much. But that was August for me. That was August 31st. That was a big deal for me with that. And then moving into September, I think the big thing for me has really been just planning for this Japan trip. September wasn't really an executable month for me. I was just prepping for Japan, trying to close as much out at work as I could. I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks, so there's a lot of things I had to transfer over and close out and hand off to other people. So yeah, September has been a prepping for Japan month, and it's officially here.
I can't wait. Yeah, so we had things this month that we've got going on. So I was planning for the men's retreat throughout September, and I had shared that with you. You kind of helped me do that, so thank you for the feedback you gave me throughout the lead up of that. And I think I don't know if I shared this, Sean, when I was talking to you about it, but I was actually slotted to teach as well.
Hmm.
So I had the Sunday teaching slot, which was definitely overwhelming for me to kind of it's just a lot, right? Of pressure and, holding that weight of being kind of the final. So I was the final one to teach. And, there's just a lot riding on the last session, right? Like,
Hmm.
oh, it's got to go well. And so on top of that, right, I was the cook, the meal plan, the really just almost everything regarding the details going into the event, the info packet. I was generating all of that information for everybody, getting carpool lists
Hmm.
ready, making sure everybody knew when to be at a place, what to do, how to do it, what to bring. And so with all of that, it was a lot. And I'm going to be honest, same thing kind of happened this last week leading up to it. I mean, my buddy knocked on the door on Friday and after, best day of the week, and we had already done it at 6 a.m. He knocks on the door, he comes in, and I am literally just getting my PowerPoint slides that I generated for the teaching
Hmm.
separated. You know how sometimes they all printed out in a different order, of
Yep.
course, from the printer, and so I was separating them, getting ready to staple as he walked in. And so it was just for me, it was such a funny, like I could not even. I really had to remind myself when I got there, have fun. You did all that hard work, but now just stop.
Hmm.
Stop thinking about the next thing. Stop feeling like you got to rush to the next thing. And it took me like a solid, I would say, one, I had to say that to myself in my own head. And I think I even verbally said it to a few different people. I was like, I need to just stop. Because when I first got there, it was like, okay, what's the next thing? What am I doing now?
Hmm.
And you're still in that rush. And then you have to say, no, 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 no. This is supposed to be retreat. And by the end, I definitely feel like I got there. I was able to, get like you were sharing about August, spend some good quality time with people, get to know them better. Me and one of my good buddies, now good buddies, really hit it off. We were having a ball. We were just cracking jokes the whole time, really building those bonds between brothers that are so important. So, yeah, it went really well, Sean. I'm happy to report that. Um, and, much more to come. Let's kind of talk through quickly our things coming up in Q4. I mean, it never ends, does it? This year
Nope.
is just going full bore, but we still have Q4 to look forward to. So, what are some things you got going and looking forward to?
Yep, biggest thing. Talked about it a bunch this episode about the Japan trip. So I can't wait to come back and post pictures and tell you guys all about the trip and how everything went. I'll be gone for 3 weeks, about 19 days, almost 3 weeks. for the whole trip, basically seeing the entire, almost the entire country of Japan, go into the city that I was born in and the city my
Nice.
parents lived in for 6 years and just kind of hang out there for a while. And then besides the Japan trip this quarter, I'm closing out some really big projects at work. We're at kind of a transition phase where we're moving things to close for a lot of our big parts and modules, and then we're going to be picking up a lot of new project and new work going into 2026. So this quarter is a lot of that, get the documentation locked down, get everything ready to go for production, and just kind of hand off, kind of things like that. So trying to close those out. And then the big thing for me going into this quarter is when I get back from Japan, my number one priority is going to be buying my dream motorcycle. So I'm going to be doing it. I know I've been talking about it for a couple of months. I've been checking finances and saving up for it, but I will be picking up a new Honda Rebel 1100, the little sport cruiser when I get home because I want a off-road bike and what I currently have, and then I want a sport bike or not sport bike, like a sporty cruiser bike to be able to do road trips, just go on weekend trips and kind of just hang out. So that's a big thing that I'm looking forward to in this upcoming quarter.
Man, super cool. Yeah, a lot to look forward to. That's really, really awesome. Can't wait to see the bike. And I will just put it out there, Sean. We got to do our big Q4 extravaganza between
Yes.
the two best behind the mahogany desk. So get mark your calendar for that. Uh, what I have coming up though, my son is turning 5 years old. I can't believe this. This is just unbelievable. So we're getting ready to celebrate him. He's been riding his bike like a fiend, so I'm really excited about that. And I have a trip planned with him that I'm taking a just a dad son trip. We're gonna go to El Paso, Texas, see Wismer, White Sands Missile Range, and kind of the White Sands National Park area
Hmm.
there in New Mexico, and then kind of retrace some of our steps that me and my dad did going to New Mexico. I kind of want to go up to Silver City and maybe do some camping. We'll definitely be camping. We're not doing any hotels. This is going to be roughing it boys trip.
Nice.
And I got my car redone. I had the fresh clutch in the Acura, so we're ready to put it to the test, do a full blown road trip, and I'm excited about that. Some other things, it's football, it's back, and I'm going to SoFi to see the Chargers play. Hopefully they get out of this little slump they're in because this last week was not great. But I have faith that Herbert will be able to get it together. And then I'm going to finish up or in the middle, and I think this will be kind of one of my last big hobby based things. But I have a race I'm currently training for called the Tour de Tucson. That's November. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's a century. So I'm doing the
Okay.
102-mile race. I've been thinking about just how I'm going to do nutrition better this year compared to my last race, which was still this
Hmm.
year. And then it'll be right around the corner, Sean. But Belgian Waffle Ride, Arizona in 2026 will be open registration here shortly. So
Ooh.
I'll be going back to slash that time, listeners. If you know what my goal is, I am going to cut that down. It took me over 7 hours to do it this first time. I am going to be down in the sixes, low sixes. So that's my goal. And I'm really looking forward to making that happen in 2026. I'm going to get on it. So, yeah, those are the big things, Sean. I'm really excited. Anything else you wanna comment on or say before we shut it down for a couple weeks here?
Last thing I want to do is to the listeners out there, kind of send us some of the things that you've accomplished this quarter, the things that you're proud of, your notable executables, or things you're even excited coming up for in Q4. We want to hear that stuff. We want to be able to jive with you guys and just see everything that you're doing. So please send those our way.
Yes. I can only second that. Great ad, Sean. And with that, we're really excited that you've taken the time to listen to this episode 167. Sean, good luck in Japan. It's
Thank
going to be
you.
a great time. I can't wait to hear about it, see it, smell it, feel it, taste it, because you're bringing me back tons of snacks. So, I kid, but I'm actually serious.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I know. Trust me.
so I will see you when you return. Good luck on the plane. I hope your strategy for sleep goes well. And listeners, if you found value out of this episode, like Sean said, please send us feedback directly. We are always interested in hearing your thoughts about how we can improve the show and make it better for you. But with that, as you're leaving the lounge, make sure to leave us a 5-star review and or follow the show Share it with a friend that may be in need of some encouragement this week. And we are excited to continue this journey with you as we move into Q4 for the next episode. This episode, like all of our episodes, comes out Friday, 6 a.m., best day of the week. And until the next one, you know where to find us at the How
How
to
to
Hobby
Hobby
Podcast.
Podcast.
Look at that.